Hey, I'm Renton Miller. I'm head judge for Park for World Skate. This is the recap video for our 2025 World Championships in Sao Paulo, Brazil, actually held in March 2026. What an event. We got through the rain for a super exciting final in both men's and women's. Big congrats to the winners, Egowitz Bahuska from Spain and Sky Brown from Team GB. Also everyone who participated or who was involved. So just to note, normally with these videos, the recap videos, I have access to all the runs after the event on the broadcast. With this recap video, I didn't, so many of the runs I'm recalling from my notes and my memory. Men's semi-finals. So in 16th place, we had Issei Sakurai from Japan. So he didn't skate due to injury. Great skateboarder, been ripping wherever he goes lately, and look forward to seeing him in Rome. 15th place, Pedro Barros. So unfortunately, Pedro didn't make much of a run, just a couple of tricks, 10.41. You win some, you lose some. I'm sure we'll be seeing Pedro back shredding soon. 14th place, we had Yuro Nagahara from Japan. So Yuro had been smashing the park in previous rounds in practice. He didn't land a complete run in the semis, unfortunately. What was great was he did start his run with an incredible kickflip indie over the big gap from the far hip on the island to the jump box landing. That was a great way to start his run. Just unfortunate that he didn't make it a full run, and it's cutthroat, got to make a run to pretty much make it through to the final. I don't think I've ever seen a case where it hasn't happened. Someone's made a run and made a final in a world skate event. It's a high level. You've got to make a run. Thirteenth place, Luis Mariano. So first of all, I'll just explain, Luis got a rerun. So there was a bottle on the course during his run. He bailed backside tail slide up the bank, over the hip, up the bank. The judges actually didn't see it. It was in a blind spot. We had to go to a video review to look at it and see it. And this for sure warranted a rerun. Someone dropped a bottle on the course. There was a bottle on the flat rolling, and he just rolled past it. So he got a rerun, which is completely fair. Bit of a bummer someone dropped a bottle, but it's humanity. That's what happens sometimes. So I don't think this was Luis's strongest planned run. I think he had more coming. It did have some cool stuff in it. He had a creative way to enter the park with a backside 50-50 on the rail into the park. So from the back of the bank, 50-50 the rail and dropped into the park. I think that's a good way to start your run. Didn't see anyone do anything else like that. So good original way. I think it's a solid, difficult trick. It was a pretty solid run, just not good enough to advance to the top 8 to the final. I mean, if you look at the skaters that are above him, they all really shredded hard. And in 2026 or the 2025 World Championships, you really got to bring your A game because it's so competitive. But it was a really good run. So in 12th place, we had Pedro Quintas. Wow. So Pedro just shreds. He's such a hard worker. Whenever you see Pedro skate, it's start to finish as fast as he can go, giving everything that he can. And as far as when I've seen him skate, it's basically been every single time. That's what you get. This event was cool because seeing his run, it kind of typified that in the first wall, straight off the bat, tray flip indie onto the bank, over the hip, onto the bank. Extremely hard trick. I think as far as flip trick goes, it was one of the most advanced flip tricks that we saw of the entire competition. Very risky, first wall, great way to start. Had a lot of other stuff through the run, good park use. All of his lip tricks were really, really strong. It was a really, really good run. But the only bummer is there was other skaters that put together better runs. And if I look at his entire run, I think that's a 12th place run. I think it's just reflective of skateboarding in 2026 because it's such a high level, and Pedro's run was sick. But above him was Kensuke. As a judge, when I watch this, it just blows me away. What really stoked me out was starting the run with an overhead body jar. It was a really classic skateboarding trick. It's an easy trick, to be honest. I feel like a body jar is not a very advanced trick. It's a trick that I think most people can do. But wow, the execution of bringing a basic fundamental trick and then just pushing it through the roof, I think is very, very impressive to anybody that has been into skateboarding or who hasn't been into skateboarding. But for me, as a skateboard fan, as a judge, the whole package, to see someone like Kensuke come in, go as fast as he can and blast a massive body jar, I thought that was really good. I think a fairly sick run all round. It ended with a really rad combo at the end. Crooked grind the rail to frontside blunt to kickflip blunt. Now, that was a pretty advanced line for this skate park. And given that he'd already also done the body jar and some other stuff, I feel like seeing the contrast between someone doing a massive body jar, which is almost a trick that's like from the 80s or 90s, and then mixed in with these other more street trick essentially on the rail and a kickflip blunt, which is a technical trick. It's just showing a lot of variety, and variety is one of the criteria. So, I mean, to me, I love this run. I feel like if you can do a body jar over your head, like, you're winning at life, basically, and yeah, that just really impressed me. In the scope of the competition, unfortunately, us as judges have to score each skater against everybody else on what they do, what everybody else does. In relation to the criteria, compare all of it and come out with a score that's going to bring out a ranking. And in this case, with a run that was so rad, it came 11th at the end of things. I mean, he had great power and execution. He was going as big as he could. I mean, he edged out Pedro Quintas, who I just said had a really, really good run. But I also have to say that there was a couple of things that he did that probably could have been better. I think backside 50-50, the love seat, which it's definitely on the same level as those other tricks. And he also did set up for the crooked grind on the rail with the backside 50-50. So he had a couple of basic tricks in there, and he repeated that same basic trick. Even though the basic trick's into a crooked grind, frontside blunt kickflip, it's just not the most ideal thing to be doing. Again, like the last two skaters, the last three skaters, Luis, Pedro, and Kensuke all skated amazingly well. It's just that, unfortunately, we have to give them a score, and not everybody can win, even though they all stoked us out on huge levels. And I wouldn't just say that about any skateboarding. I really, really enjoyed those last runs watching. In 10th place, we had Thomas Augusto from Portugal. So Thomas shows up every time, works really, really hard, just like Pedro Quintas. Every time you see him, he's sweating, he's going for it. At this level, these skaters are working so hard, like from competition to competition. You see them turn up all over the world, put in the practice, put in the slams, and I would say that Thomas Augusto works as hard as anybody. His skateboarding has a lot of consistency. It has a lot of difficulty, got a lot of good use of the park, good execution. It's some really good skateboarding. I think in this run, I really liked to identify a few things that I thought were really good. I thought the nose grab 540 off the extension down over the hip was a nice touch. I think in a world of skateboarding, when you see a lot of different 540s, that was something different because he did it off the extension and down over the hip. I think if you're doing something down an extension, it seems to me that it's a bit more hectic. You can hang up a bit gnarlier, and also over the hip. So I thought that was a nice touch. In between all sorts of other stuff, kickflip melon over the hip into the extension, that was really, really big. And ending with the kickflip body varial 540, and at the end of his run as a cherry on top. It was a great way to finish. Anytime you finish with a hammer is going to help your cause. I think as a whole run, it was great, and well done for Thomas. That's a good result, I think. Ninth place, Dan Sabino. So, relatively speaking, Dan Sabino is a newcomer to this level of skateboarding, and he's really, really powerful. I think he just showed that he has the ability to get up in the higher levels. I mean, that's top 10 in the World Championships of skateboarding, where all the best in the world are there. So for Dan to reach that level, it's by no accident, or it's not by luck. This dude is obviously a really, really good skater. Very powerful, lots of tricks, good line, some good difficulty, going quite big. Just missed the cut, I think, very close, but he was edged out by Taylor Nye, who also skated amazingly well. So I look forward to seeing Dan skate in other world skate competitions. Eighth place, Taylor Nye from USA. So he skated early. He skated in the first heat and made it through to eighth. So he was above Dan Sabino and below Gavin Bocker. So he started with a great lean air. Always good to see classic lean airs or classic air of any sort. Good execution. It means a lot. I think as far as a run, it was fairly well curated, in that it really went around the park and tricks were really chosen to showcase those parts of the park and the line that went together to join them together. That's one of the things I feel like with advanced skaters is the way they read the park and the way they apply a run and their skills to that run. So, they go and they figure out how to get around the park, and then once they get around the park, they can put tricks in that run, and what ends up happening is it's a very everything's really organic. Nothing looks forced because everything looks where it should go. And I think that that Taylor was an example of that. He's all of his basics are well executed. I mean, all of his tricks are, even his hard ones. Great use of park. Straight love seat to the rail, to the 540 to the hip, to flip the box the other way. Mixing up the skills, so he's got some variety in there. Also really getting around the whole park. He's really all over the place, covering a lot of ground. Pound for pound, each trick is fairly difficult, but really maximising his potential with the line around the park. He backs it ollied over 2 hips, so that was a fairly big gap, and not everybody was doing it. Another thing that I thought was fairly unique to his run was the Indy 540 over the waterfall, landing with power. He didn't sketch it at all. I think I said it before. It gets a bit gnarly when you do a 540 from a big section to a small section. I mean, I was talking about an extension, but I think it's harder to do a 540 from a big section to a smaller section over a waterfall than just in a regular section. I think over the past few competitions, we've seen quite a few skaters smash themselves on going from a bigger section to a smaller section on a 5. I think at this event, maybe Liam Pace slammed on one. I think maybe at a previous event, he also slammed on one. We also saw a couple of competitions ago, Pedro Quintas slam on one similar. I could be wrong, but at this event, not many people doing 540s over the waterfall. I thought that was good. Ended with a banger, alley-oop Indy 360 over the hip. Creative, great way to end your run. I mean, all in all, it was a really good run, and well done. Seventh place, Gavin Bocker from the USA. So Gavin skated quite well. His airs were big; they were quite impressive. I think Gavin really gets some credit for his selection of tricks and his variety of tricks. They come from different areas of skating, and I think I've said this a lot, when judges are watching a lot of skaters, it's really cool to see people do different things. Gavin, he hits the rail with some key tricks. I mean, crooked grinder backside Smith, great tricks. I think he might have been one of the only people to hit the rail a couple of times and with a couple of different sorts of tricks. No complaint tailside was also a good one. I think like it comes and brings it. These type of tricks bring a type of atmosphere that it's not just about, doing airs and being a vert guy. It's also about, all these different forms of skateboarding. It's about bringing something different and some flavor. But what I also really like is he also brings the McTwist and the frontside invert, which I feel like are from two completely different areas of skating than, say, a crooked grind on a rail or backside Smith on a rail or a no-complete tail slide. So as far as like variety, he's running a full gamut of different stuff from different sides of skating. Really, really presenting like a degustation menu of different skate stuff. It's pretty sick. Just a note, Gavin didn't flip his board. He had some really unique tricks in his run, some really difficult tricks, executed well, a lot of creativity. But I only say that just to point out that there's not just one recipe to succeed. It's not like, okay, you just have to go out and do, flip grabs and fives or whatever. There's so many different ways that you can succeed in skateboarding. And it's really about just choosing what works for you, choosing what you can really show in a good way and bring something that is rad. So Gavin also maxes out everything he can do as hard as he can, which at this level you absolutely have to be doing it. Sixth place, Kiefer Wilson. So Kiefer powered through a run, fairly polished, that had bits and pieces of everything. It was linked together well, had a variety of really good tricks and used the park. Kickflip Indy Disaster, lean 360 over the jump box, amongst other rad tricks, is a very solid run. In the previous rounds, similar runs, pretty much very similar runs qualified him first in the 2 rounds before that. Now, my message or my theme, probably with where I'm going, is as we go through the competition, the same run won't hang as you go to a higher round. And that's really just because, generally speaking, everybody else turns the volume up. So that's not because we punish like any sort of repetition from one round to the next. You don't get punished for repetition from one round to the next. But if you bring pretty much a similar run or the same run, and everybody else turns their runs up, then your run isn't going to hang in the same ranking. I think we found this with Kiefer. I don't know whether he was questioning it or whatever, or he just did it to make it through, but he did qualify first with a similar run in the first, the qualifying round, and then the quarters round, and then a very similar run. It didn't quite get him to first in the semi-final. And so, yeah, as I said, that's just mainly to do with how everybody else skates. Fifth place, Tom Shah from the USA. So a super solid, gnarly run using pretty much the whole park, a lot of power, some creativity. Possibly the heaviest trick over the love seat gap with the tail grab 540. That was pretty hectic. Also showing some individuality with a frontside 360 sailfish over the jump box and the backside 180 tail grab over the jump box. That's a pretty original trick, and I don't think we were expecting to see it, and I thought that was pretty cool. Also had some other stuff that was just kind of in the run, but actually it wasn't just filler, it was pretty sick, like lip slide, frontside tail slide from the hip up the extension, just solid skateboarding. I think what we see with the skaters getting into these higher positions is a bit more thought in their skating, and really trying to bring like an original approach. Like actually everyone, I think, in this semi-final had some form of original approach. Every skateboarder in this semi-final had some different tricks, different lines, and I would say to other people that are trying to vie into these positions, bring some personality to put it into the criteria, just some sort of creativity in using the park or a variety of tricks. Fourth place, Keegan Palmer. So sick having Keegan back after some competitions last year where he didn't skate. Skate with a lot of energy, a lot of power. His execution is also really good. Alley-oop Indy over the love seat was really good. His runs are always really well put together, as was this one. A lot of classic tricks in there, and ending with a McEgg, the 540 eggplant. I think that was a nice touch. Well done, Keegan. Egowitz Bajuska in third place from Spain. In general, a really good run using the whole park with really hard tricks. I think Egowitz is really creating his own path. He's brought in, when he first came on the scene, he had extremely good park use, of which he still does. But now he's moved on to taking that extremely good park use and adding an extremely lot amount of difficulty to all of his moves. And also the consistency that he has is also ridiculous. I mean, I think he's kind of bringing in, I don't know if it's going to be a new style that anyone can really copy, but as far as him, I feel like it's a new approach, just with an absolute insane amount of tricks that are difficult. So obviously he won the last competition in Rome, absolute ripper. Just to get on the little bit of a critical side, and his run was clearly insane. Egowitz is a machine, like absolute machine. He does so many tricks, but what I will say, some are actually pretty small. So in the confines of a run from Egowitz, I think we can somewhat give some of it a pass because of the pure consistency in his run. There is so much stuff. So there's a couple of things like the kickflip Indy over the corner of the jump box hip, or the kickflip varial Indy over the hip. So they are fairly small as far as the execution. But on the other hand, it's mixed in with other tricks that are really, really big, some really good park use, and probably more consistency than we've ever seen in runs at World Skate events. So as far as going small on airs, small on flips and stuff like that, I mean, normally this type of behavior is looked down upon by the judges, but on Egowitz's side, he is fulfilling so much of the criteria that we can kind of give him a pass. But what I would say is we can't just, you know, if you're a kid that's skating and you're doing your stuff like that, and you're not doing the other big stuff, you haven't got the use of the park, the consistency that Ego has, then you're probably not going to get the same. What I'm saying, if they're your biggest tricks, then you want to make them bigger. Egowitz has so much in his run that we can give a pass to some of the stuff being small. But I just would say to some of the kids out there that, like, it's better to do your stuff bigger. But of course, Egowitz is doing so much in his run, we can't ask for everything. Also, I will say at the end of the run, the 720 was small, which you could comment on, but it's a 720. No one really does 720s in the park. I think that's really because people haven't really had the skills to be able to skate a park properly, to get themselves backwards, and then to do a line to the park backwards and then execute a 720. I think that's been the challenge. It's not just been the trick, it's been setting up for the trick, keeping your speed for the trick, and making it look like it belongs in a bowl. It's not just a vert trick that you've just bought and gone, hey, I can do 720s on vert, I'm just going to do it in the park and just try and cash in and make some park money. Like, not going to happen like that. You're going to have to, if you do sevens, you've got to get the line into it and look like you're skating a park, which Ego is doing, which is sick. And so on one hand, I'm saying the 720 was small, but there's a lot to it. It's a sick trick. No one else is doing it. That's just my appraisal of that one trick. Another one is the backtail slide shove it. Like, that to me is next level. Not a new move, but it's a super risky move. I think the trick might be like 30 years old. It's one of those tricks that just hasn't caught on, just because I guess to get it and make it all the time is difficult. I don't think I've seen another skater do it at a park event, and the fact that Egowitz is doing it in the middle of his run when he has a lot of his run to go, and if he sketches and loses his speed, he's going to wreck the rest of his run. It is very risky, and it's a great move. It's a tech trick. As I said, I think he is starting to redefine, if it's not redefining park skating, which I think purists would probably disagree with, because, like, that's what purists do when you talk about things like the spirit of park skating, but he's redefining how certain people skate parks, and I think he's redefining the understanding of what can be done in a skate park if you really, really want to push it, because he is really, really pushing it. So Egos' run was really strong, but I think ultimately it got beaten in this round just because of the height and the execution. Okay, second place, Kalani Koenig. Kalani gets a lot of his credit from the judges in his use of the park and his execution, and also a lot because of his difficulty. I mean, if you're in the top three, you're getting credit for everything, really. But Kalani, his use of the park, his execution is really, really good. He has a good mix of tricks, so some good variety. They're all spread over key obstacles in the park. Backs at Smith and Roll was one of the hardest tricks on the obstacle. He got around the park like an absolute animal. And ending with the frontside 360 at the end was really strong way to end. And also just the way he executed it. So that was fantastic. Well done, Kalani, for qualifying second. First place qualifier, Luigi Cini. So Luigi had a lot of power and brought some pretty original flavour with tricks like the sugarcane on over the hip, up the bank, and then on the next wall, the lip slide to Smith. His entire run was quite powerful, and ending with a crooked grind on the rail to flip Stalefish to fakie was a pretty cool combo, like mixing up some pretty different things. Some pretty difficult things, and even the small detail of after the kickflip style to fakie, doing the alley rewind grind over the hip, the sort of half cab to frontside 5-0 to fakie over the hip, that was pretty cool too. Of course, all through his run, he had some rad stuff like the kickflip melon, just skating super fast on all of his moves, good execution, just really solid skating, or more than solid skating, it was insane skating. So Luigi really, like his power from start to finish, he had so much electricity in his run. His original flavour, difficulty, use of park, it all really ended up being that he had really the criteria to take out the semi-finals. Well done, Luigi. Okay, so World Championships of Skateboarding 2025 men's final. 8th place, Keegan Palmer. Okay, so uncharacteristically of Keegan, he bailed. I guess it's got to happen to everybody at some point. Bit of a bummer, but that's the way it is with the skateboarding. 7th place, Gavin Botka. Just like Keegan, Gavin couldn't get it together. Made it a little bit further into his run. Unfortunate, but those things happen. 54.16 would have been a different story if he had have made his run. I went through his run in the semi-final section that he did there. It was a great run. Unfortunately, he didn't make it in the final. 54.16.
It really lets him stand out from the rest of this field.
Okay, tail slide where we usually see him do the no comply tail slide, but frontside nose grind, trying to get hold of it. The frontside grab, not quite getting it.
6th place, Luigi Cini. Again, couldn't make a run. I think for Luigi it must have been difficult because we didn't know whether the finals were going to happen. And he qualified first in the semis, which means had we have been rained out, Luigi would have won the World Championships without having to skate the final. We would have taken the results from the semi-final. And I think in preparation for a World Championship final, that's got to play heavily on your mind. And unfortunately, he didn't make a run. I don't know if that was the case for Luigi or not, but I think that is what crossed my mind when I saw his situation. But he got through part of his run, same sort of run as he did in semis with the kickflip melon, sugarcane up the bank hip. But anyway, he bailed 68.35, unfortunately. Yeah. So 5th place, we had Kiefer Wilson. So I think he qualified first in qualifying, quarters, and then the same sort of run didn't really get him so much credit in the rankings as he did in the earlier rounds in the semis. So I think he got a lower score, didn't get as high a ranking. I think he changed up his run a little bit, and he did really, really well. A lot of variety in his run, a lot of difficulty, a nice use of the park. It was a really, really good run. But there was one thing that I did note about his run, and it differs to a lot of the other skaters, particularly the skaters that came after him. So just as he started his runs in the qualifying quarters and semis, he started with 3 basic sort of tricks. Now, in those phases of the competition, before everyone's kicked in all of their really heavy skating, maybe you can hang with the 3 sort of easy tricks at the start, in the qualifying, in the quarters, not so much in the semis. But by the time you get to the finals, it definitely gets a lot harder. You have other skaters, the skaters that are ahead of him were pretty much coming out swinging really, really hard immediately. But Kiefer came out and basically did frontside feeble, the corner, India the box, and then a frontside tail grab over the hip up the extension. He came in strong after that, did a lot of rad stuff. But I think the key thing that was holding him back was not coming out and blasting right at the start with something good. May not have to be first wall. I mean, it may not have to be second wall, but I think by the time you've sort of hit 3 tricks, I think, you know, at this level, you want to be sort of smashing it pretty hard. I mean, when we go into the other skaters above, like Taylor, Tom, Kalani and Egowitz, like they were all pretty much bringing the thunder, like pretty close to immediately. And so I think, you know, at the level of the finals, you're expected to be going as hard as you can from the start all the way to the finish. It's the highest level in the world, biggest competition in the world, best skaters in the world. And yeah, you really can't muck around at the start. So 4th place, Taylor Nye. Taylor skated really well. Well-curated run. Again, like semis, nice line through the park. I don't think there was really a single highlight of his run so much. I mean, there was one really hammer at the end of the run, but I think what Taylor's run really was good was pound for pound throughout the entire run. It was linking together a lot of stuff, and a lot of pretty good stuff the entire way through. And then he ended with the alley-oop Indy 360 over the hip, which is a great way to end. I think it should be clear to most people that compete at this level that like finishing with a really heavy move is really, really good. But the cool thing about Taylor's run was just at all stages of his run, he had a nice line, nice tricks. It was just well presented, well curated. But I do think that like to go much further, to get on the podium, he would definitely have to bring more. I mean, I think, you know, when you go up to the next guys, Tom, Kalani, and Egowitz, those dudes are really bringing like, you know, hammer tricks, and that they are a step up. 3rd place, we had Tom Shah. So Tom started his run really strong with the tail grab 540 over the love seat. And I mentioned it before, I think that was probably the most heavy trick on that obstacle. And he also ended, I think, pretty much with the strongest obstacle on the rail, the frontside 180 to switch crooked grind to fakie. And so that's pretty sick because it bookended his run with like not only good tricks, but tricks that like essentially pretty much the best tricks on those obstacles. So it's really... I mean, in this case with Tom, he had dudes skating against him like Kalani and Egowitz that were just going really, really hard. So, you know, when you are saying, okay, man, he did the sickest trick on this obstacle and the sickest trick on that obstacle on the first and last part of his run, I mean, you would assume it was going to be hard to beat, but the guys that beat him just went that bit harder. Of course, Tom had a lot of stuff throughout his run. I think maybe that was probably the difference between him and Kalani and Egowitz. They had a little bit more throughout their run. But Tom skated great. kickflip Indy, and just his use of the park is good. Execution is good. Frontside Starfish 360 over the box is a very unique trick. I think it's a hard trick. It's a trick that looks good. Yeah, it's great to watch Tom Shah skate. He's an absolute ruler. And okay, Kalani Koenig in second place. So what a highlight of this event to see the Golden Run format, like the winner and the second place run really come down to the Golden Run format, and to have second place be in first place until the final run. I mean, I think that is just such a good way to end the competition. It's great for the crowd. It's just, the atmosphere is electric when you're seeing these guys like essentially battle each other, like I'm sure they're inspired by each other, but they're definitely battling each other. And seeing Kalani slip into first with an amazing run, and then have Egowitz in second, with Egowitz knowing he had to bring a little bit more to his run that was essentially an amazing run, and Egowitz come out and actually pull it off and do it and pop into first place with the final run. I think that was a great way to present the World Championships, and great for skating and just great to watch. Yeah, so Kalani had a lot of power, a lot of flow, a lot of great use of the park. Started with a big alley-oop over the two hips. I mean, he had one trick before that. I think it was a frontside air, hip to extension, and then alley-oop Indy over the two hips. Anytime you're doing a gap that no one else is really, not too many other people are doing, is going to be good. I don't think anyone else alley-ooped that gap. It was really big. I think you don't have to explain that doing big stuff on a skateboard is going to be more impressive than doing small stuff. Brought the atmosphere. He had a lot of speed. He linked the obstacles together really, really well with difficult tricks. Indy 540, I thought, over the small hip was done with power, and he really made that look good. The backside tail slide off the extension and the backside lip slide was at warp speed. Backside nose grind over the bank rail over the hip was great. And then backing that up with the backside Smith on the rail, really using all these different parts of the park and really executing well, and really just skateboarding, just going for it. And I really enjoyed it. I think the judges really enjoyed it. And I think at the time of him going into first, I think it was really because of his use of the park, his execution. He was just really going so fast. Ending the run with a backside 180 flip Indy over the island was a really good addition, because he already had such good use of the park, a fair bit of consistency, great execution. So there was a lot of difficulty throughout his run, and there's a lot of difficulty in the way he executes his tricks. You do a backside lip slide at warp speed. The difficulty is not necessarily in the trick, it comes in the execution. So he definitely had difficulty throughout his whole run. But to add a 180 flip Indy over the island, it added that element of technical ability to his run. And so that brought a bit of difficulty. It just complemented the whole thing. And I thought it was a fantastic run. And it was rad that he was in first for a bit. But then we had Egowitz. So Egowitz in first place. I mentioned before about the consistency of Egowitz's run. He just has so much in there. And within that consistency, he has use of the park. He has difficulty. Sometimes his execution is not as on point, but I think you have to be completely realistic and consider the difficulty of the stuff he is doing and the amount of stuff he is doing. And I think, he's a human, and to be doing a run like he's doing, I think you're always going to be. He's just doing so much and so difficult, so much in one run. So I think sometimes his execution isn't quite there, but I think there is kind of good reason for it. He's ramming so much in his run. So adding the big trick over the gap, it really brought a lot more to his run. He cleaned up in this run to his last run. His kickflip Indy over the jump box hip was way cleaner in his second run. It was into a perfect backside tailslide shove it in the corner. And so going back to what I just said, like in his previous run, his kickflip Indy was over that. It wasn't very big. It was a little bit low. But you have to be like pragmatic about it and realistic and just think, man, he does into a backside tailslide, shove it around the corner, which is perfect. So it's gnarly. Egowitz is definitely carving his own path with bringing a lot more into the runs and absolutely going crazy. Also added in the final phase the backside blunts off the extension, which I think he also went over the hip, which is also a super rad run. But all in all, Egowitz was ripping. Congratulations to everybody. And yeah, what an amazing event, the 2025 World Championships of Skateboarding in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's my privilege to be judging it. Thanks.